pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I please get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eisenhart? Here. Mr. Hefner? Here. Mr. Hohenschild?
Here.
Mrs. Hune?
Here.
Mr. Reitnauer?
Here.
Mr. Sheets?
Here.
Mr. Stubitz?
Here.
Mrs. Walliser? Here. Mr. Wagman?
Here.
9 present.
Good evening, everybody. Just to make some introductions, I'm Andrew Potter, I'm the superintendent. Thank you so much for joining this evening. We have some guests in the audience, which is not typical for us, so welcome. To start off, board members, just a reminder, if you are going to speak, in front of you is the new system that we have. To speak, you just have to press that sender button and it'll go from red. Red means that you're muted. Green means that your voice will get picked up. The reason that's important is because it'll connect to our live stream, and so people can better hear you than when you're talking. So thank you for your patience as we start to navigate a new technology system here. This evening, the first two items on the agenda are passing of 2 employees that previously worked in the school district, and we call that an obituary minute. So I'm going to take a moment and read both of these obituary minutes. The first one is for Mr. Ronald Durr. Whereas the Board of Directors of the Brandywine Heights Area School District acknowledges the passing of a dear friend in education, Mr. Ronald L. Durr, on September 25th, 2022. Whereas Ronald Durr served the district with dedication and excellence as a custodian for a total of 23 years, from 1989 to 2011. And whereas Ronald Durr's commitment to lifelong learning, devotion to students, and record of excellence in educational and community endeavors will long be remembered and appreciated. And whereas his passing is marked by a deep sense of loss to his family and friends in the district, and whereas the Brandywine Heights Area School Board of Directors would like to publicly recognize the extraordinary life and record of service of Ronald Durr. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the school board of the Brandywine Heights Area School District officially honor Mr. Ronald Durr for his role in improving the lives of countless students and citizens through his contributions to education, public service, his family, and the community. And further be it resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread across the official minutes of the school district this 3rd day of October 2022, with a copy sent to his bereaved family. Mr. Durr served as a custodian for us for several years, as mentioned, 1989 to 2011, and was an excellent employee of the school district. Next up, we have a recognition for the passing of Mrs. Mary Almendinger. Whereas the Board of Directors of the Brandywine Heights Area School District acknowledges the passing of a dear friend in education, Mrs. Mary Ann Almendinger Hayes, on September 22nd, 2022. Whereas Mary Ann Almendinger Hayes served the school district with dedication and excellence as a high school English teacher for a total of 35 years prior to her retirement in 2006. And whereas Mary Ann Almendinger Hayes committed to lifelong learning, devotion to students, and record of excellence in educational and community endeavors will long be remembered and appreciated. And whereas her passing is marked by a deep sense of loss to her family and friends in the district, and whereas the Brandywine Heights Area School District would like to publicly recognize the extraordinary life and record of service of Mary Ann Almendinger Hayes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Directors of the Brandywine Heights Area School District officially honor Mrs. Mary Ann Almendinger Hayes for her role in improving the lives of countless students and citizens through her contributions to education, public service, her family, and the community. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread across the official minutes of the school district this 3rd day of October 2022, with a copy sent to her bereaved family. If we could just take a moment of silence to recognize these 2 individuals. Thank you. Next, we have a very exciting announcement this today, and I'll ask Mr. Ostrowski to come up and join me here. We have the representation of Mr. Samuel Berryman. Mr. Berryman was a BCTC student and was in a Skills USA competition. Part of the Skills USA competition is part of the Skills USA competition is connected to BCTC. And what they do is they have competitions at the regional level, and then at the state level, and then even at the national level. And he represented Brandywine as well as the Masonry program and won 2nd place in the nation. So I'm going to let you explain a little bit about what you did and the accomplishment you had. That is pretty awesome.
In Atlanta, well, first of all, I went to Atlanta to compete for masonry, and they give you a blueprint, and then you just build it in the allotted time. They give you criteria to meet, like plumb level, design, and I got second in the nation. I went to districts, it was Berks County, and then I went to states, all of Pennsylvania, and then I went to nationals, all of the country.
Tell them the cool thing that you did when you were down at Nationals, since it was in Atlanta, what you did on the front.
Oh yeah, I built an A on the front for Atlanta.
In the wall. This preliminary was awesome. They did a great job.
How big was the wall that you had to build?
It was 4 feet tall,
4 feet. How long did you have to make it?
6 hours.
6 hours. And what did you have to make it out of?
Brick and concrete block.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
You're a senior this year, right?
Yeah.
What do you plan to do once you graduate?
Probably go to trade school.
Nice. You have a bright future. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Congrats, buddy. Absolutely.
Mr. Ostrowski, I'll just have you stay up here right away. Yeah. So next up, we'd like to do something we call a New Heights Award. It's essentially like the Employee of the Month. Anyone can recognize staff members, students, fellow colleagues for extraordinary things that they see. Out of all of those recognitions, we picked 2 individuals to be recognized every month, essentially as, again, our Employees of the Month. So we have 2 recognitions we'd like to do today. And the first one,
Okay.
you thought probably thinking, what am I?
That's all right.
The first one, it's actually Mr. Riggins, and Mr. Riggins, I can borrow you, is Denise Mel. So Denise, if you don't mind coming up here. So Denise is actually a speech teacher with us on special assignment this year as the autistic support teacher in this building. And she came to me this summer, and we were talking, and she said, I see this opening. Would you entertain me teaching this position? And at that point, we had been looking for a position for a long time, and she was like this blessing in disguise that came to me. So she thought I was going to maybe not say yes to this, and I was like, oh. So thank you. This is the recognition for Denise. Denise has embraced her new role in the fullest extent. She has worked hard to ensure that each of her students have their unique sets of needs met. She has gone above and beyond every day. The students are always happy to see her and her to see them. It is not easy to transition to a new role, and after doing the same thing for so many years, but she has made it look seamless. So huge congratulations, and I'll ask Mr. Riggins to say a few words.
So one of the things that Mr. Pottinger just said was you make it look seamless. Okay. So as a speech teacher, she has made incredible connections with all of her students. And when she came on board as the autistic support teacher, I was not a bit surprised about the same kind of connections that she's made with the kids, with the parents. She's a great communicator. She's caring. She's flexible. She's very collaborative. The list really goes on and on about how fortunate we are to have Miss Mellon as our new artistic support teacher in the middle school and intermediate school. So thank you very much.
Next up, we have an opportunity to recognize, this is not the first time new to a New Heights Award, Mrs. Dawn Schwein. Dawn is one of our school nurses. She's a certified school nurse, and what that means is she, in the education world, can be an official school nurse. We also have some LPNs, we have RNs, but you have to get a certain certification to become a certified school nurse. That is Dawn. Dawn has filled in tremendously for us this year, and I'm sure Manny will share those things. But she essentially is the certified school nurse for the entire school district. Because the other certified school nurse is on sabbatical right now. So she is picking up all kinds of duties. We are so blessed to have her. This is the recognition. Dawn's dedication and hard work have been displayed in all of her job responsibilities over the last few weeks. She has proactively worked on reviewing, gathering, and entering student information in the new student information system. She has diligently checked supplies and prepared health room areas for each building. Her communication to families regarding immunizations and physical was clear and informative. All in all, she has demonstrated a high level of commitment, flexibility, reliability, and respectfulness of others that should not go unrecognized. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And working with Dawn over the last 6 weeks now, I can't commend you enough for all of your diligence, hard work, efforts put into the health room, reviewing all those records, making sure that communication was provided to the parents as well as the nurse team. She went into every building's health room, made sure that it was ready and prepped for the beginning of the new school year. She took on the duties of what typically is 2 people over the last few weeks. So that whole process of onboarding everybody, making sure that they were familiar with the new campus platform was all a part of her role and responsibilities. And honestly, we couldn't have done it without you. So you've done a fantastic job.
And I couldn't have done it without the help of my other 3 nurses in the district either, so I want to give recognition to them as well.
All right, thank you.
All right. We'll move on to student board representatives report. Oh, sorry. Student board representative report. Tatiana?
The high school had a spirit week last week in preparation for homecoming. Monday was Comfy Day. Tuesday was Mathlete versus Athlete. Wednesday was Wear White Lies. Thursday was College and Career Wear. And Friday was Class Colors Day. At the end of the school day Friday, Student Council hosted a pep rally where the homecoming court was announced and the freshman class won the series of games. Friday night was the homecoming dance where students voted for their homecoming king and queen. On Saturday, the homecoming games took place. Due to the rainy weather, marching band and chamber singers did not perform, but the students section was still full despite the weather. Colin Kowalchuk won homecoming king and Aubrey Reiner won homecoming queen. The first marking period ends the last week in October. Students have registered for their dual enrollment courses through Reading Area Community College, and they have until November 1st to sign up for AP exams. After-school tutoring hosted by the National Honor Society has begun. All other clubs and activities are up and running as well. There will be a blood drive hosted by Key Club on October 17th. Signups will begin soon. Halloween Town will be hosted by many high school clubs at some point this month. And lastly, marching band will be performing in the Topton Halloween Parade on Saturday, the Emmaus Parade on the 15th, and the Hamburg King Frost Parade on the 29th.
Thank you. Megan?
Okay, also for the high school, this weekend was a big one for sports, as homecoming always is. And this was definitely one for the books, with 2 very close games in a very cold and slippery field. To start the night off, girls soccer played our notorious rivals, Kutztown, on Saturday at 4, and we lost in overtime 3-2. And after homecoming court was announced, the varsity boys soccer team took on Kutztown as well, and they won in overtime 2-1. This brought the girls' record to 9-5-1, and the boys' record to 11-2. This puts the teams at a good spot heading into the last week and a half of regular season play. Girls soccer senior night is tomorrow for their home game against Tulpehocken. Field hockey senior night is this coming Thursday for their home game against Kutztown. Boys soccer senior night is on October 10th for their home game against Antietam. And the girls volleyball Think Pink game is tomorrow night against Berks Catholic, and their senior night, October 17th, against Daniel Boone. And last week, girls tennis ended their season with a record of 7-3.
Thank you, Megan. Lauren?
In the elementary school, on October 7th, the PTC is hosting their annual Race for Education. Students in the elementary school will walk across the street to the middle school track for a fun day running laps as a fundraiser. If the fundraising goal is reached, the students will get to vote for Miss Kelly to do something silly or crazy. The Topton Fire Club will also be joining the elementary school on October 14th to talk about fire safety. In addition to learning about overall fire safety, all the students will be able to see the fire truck and learn about all the tools it has. Finally, on October 28th, the elementary school students will celebrate Halloween. We will have our high school band lead the intermediate school students who will be joining the elementary school students for a little parade. Following the parade, we will celebrate with Halloween-related activities and games.
Awesome. Thank you. Jenna?
In the intermediate school, the Race for Education will be held on October 7th at the track. Fifth grade camp will be held on October 12th to the 14th. We have 83 students going to camp this year. Some students are working on a poster contest for UGI to promote the message, "Call 811 before you dig." And finally, the Halloween parade is on October 28th. The high school band will be performing. In the middle school,
So you mentioned the Education Foundation, and that's something that just was formed, and it kind of leads into the next part of our board meeting, which is a brief presentation about what the Education Foundation is. I think it's really important for the board to hear about what this is, to understand the inner workings, and to understand their vision, mission, and goals for that organization moving forward. So I'm going to ask the president of the Education Foundation, Kristen Herring, to come up and share a few words about the Education Foundation. As she comes, there are two documents in front of you. There are these two. So if you have a chance to preview that as Kristen's talking. Ms. Herring, I will turn it over to you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Like Mr. Prodigal said, I am Kristen Herring. I have been a resident of the school district for about 22 years, and I'm also a proud parent of a 9th grader and a 12th grader, and I'm also the president of the newly formed Education Foundation. But prior to becoming the president of the Education Foundation, I was a board member of the Brandywine Task Force. And if many of you remember, the task force was created several years ago when there was a crisis in our county. And the school district, we created a task force. And over the years, as a member of the task force, I was now being made aware of the benefits that an education foundation provided to neighboring school districts, not only in our county, but also in the Lehigh Valley. And through this, I thought, oh my goodness, I hope that the Brandywine Heights School District has an education foundation because of the benefits that I firsthand had been experiencing as a staff member in a local school district. And unfortunately, we don't have one. So I talked to Mr. Pottinger and I said, this is definitely a benefit that our school district needs to have. And he and I agreed, and we approached our task force board about it because part of the board's vision was education and engagement. And we found that it's a good time for the task force to transition into our education foundation. And our board was created. We have a 9-member voting board. The board consists of community members, faculty, and staff. Myself, Andy Schumann, Brian Rothamol, Kelly Womack, Lindsay Levengood, Amy Vorbach, Prudence Miller, Andy Schumann, Maria Winkler, and Stephen Schroyer are our board members. We also have 2 non-voting board members, Mr. Pottinger being one, and Mr. Wagman, the school board president, is also a non-voting member of our board. But through our initiatives, we would hope, like part of our vision is, and you can see that one of our visions and our mission on your paper in front of you, but our mission is a foundation for future success. And through the various initiatives, as well as future initiatives, our vision is to enhance, enrich, and provide educational opportunities by building innovative partnerships through community connections. Part of our initiatives right now is the Too Good for Drugs curriculum that offers and assists students K through 5. And the after school program, we are so happy to hear that 20 students have signed up for this week. We provide the monetary funds for that program. And we want to thank Mrs. Moore as well as Mrs. Pristash and Mrs. Johnson for being those mentors to those students for the after school program, because without their support, that program wouldn't have continued. So we want to thank those teachers for doing that. And we provide that spot for those students after school Monday through Thursday from 2:30 to 4:30. That's another one of our initiatives. Another initiative is something that's going to start this Friday, is our free lunch Friday. We are offering a free lunch to any student who buys a lunch, kindergarten through 12th grade. The foundation is going to take care of the funds for that. We know as of foundation that basic needs need to be met in order to have educational success in the classroom. And we are hoping that providing that lunch provides that basic need for our students. So Free Lunch Friday is starting this Friday. So we're very excited for that initiative. And another initiative that we're also going to be creating are senior scholarships, and then any new and upcoming educational opportunities that we can provide. And that's where the collaboration with Mr. Pottiger and Mr. Farina and Mrs. Womack and the other administrators, together we can see what new future programs we would like to provide to our school district. So I just want to thank you again for the opportunity, and we hope to, as a foundation and a school board, work to collaborate to create a better and bolster our community, as well as create that foundation for success for our students. Then please check out our website and share it with your friends and community and other fellow alumni. We would love their support. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So any question, Chris, before you run away, hang on. So just a couple recognitions. One first, Mr. and Mrs. Womack in the back there. Kelly is one of our teachers at the elementary school. Lindsay Levengood, board member. Lindsay, another one of our teachers. Kristen is a parent in the school district, as she mentioned, resident, but she's also a teacher at Kutztown School District. We don't hold that against her. And then a familiar face to a lot of us, Mr. Rothermel. Yeah, drew him back in. So huge thank you to them, as well as the other board members. It's a 9-person board. I think one of the things that's really important for this board to know is that
Mrs. Rohrbach.
the other
Oh, a different. Oh, okay.
Yes, okay.
One of the things that's really important for this board to know is the Education Foundation runs in parallel, in tandem with the school district, with this board. It's important to know that. That's why, as the bylaws are set up, that the superintendent, that the board president or board representative sits as a non-voting member, so that they're there to support the education of the school district. They're there to support the students. They're there to support the school board. But it's also not. It's purposely done so that they're separate from each other. And that's a clear delineation. It's the reason the bylaws are set up that way. Sometimes what has happened in education foundations is they get too close and too intermingled, and then the division of that education foundation becomes the vision of maybe that superintendent that comes along that wants to kind of create his own little thing, his own agenda. So we purposely set that up so that input, that collaboration with the school district is super important, but that 9-person board is really important to be their own designation, their own nonprofit. They have now established their established nonprofit within the state and have their federal tax exempt ID that just came in last week. So they're well on their way, bank account set up now, and officially established as an organization. So, any questions for Kristen? Yeah, please.
So first off, thank you. I think this is going to be an amazing opportunity for our district. And I know you all have put in a lot of time already, and it's a lot of commitment. And I couldn't think of a better group of people to be a part of this task force. Just looking out there and seeing you all, I'm going to do more great things than you already are doing for our district. So thank you for being a part of this really important organization. And if there's any fundraising or any kind of events that you guys are having, please make sure you let us know so we can happily support and get the word out there.
Or we will. You're welcome. Thank you. We will let you know any fundraising events.
Big one coming up, right?
Yes, there will be a big one coming up.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. There will be. Stay tuned.
So just to echo the thanks and appreciation, the Education Foundation has been out there for folks of us who have identified for many, many years that was sort of an absence for us as a community, and a way for philanthropy to have a place to be channeled in a productive, organized, education-driven kind of way. So kudos to the team of folks that has been involved for many, many years. The transition from the task force to the foundation is a fabulous idea. So huge thanks. Maybe you could take the opportunity to just plug, how do people make donations? And also marketing, how do you plan to get the word out now that it's formal and it exists? And how do you plan to spread the word?
We do have a website available, so that's part of the pamphlet. The website is also connected to the school's website, and we do on our website there is a donate to the Ed Foundation, so that is available for individuals, and we will send out future mailings. And we would like to build the alumni network, because as we know, we have various successful alumni that we want to highlight and promote, and also just show our students, our future students, like see how successful you can also be to do as well. So that is something that we want to continue and to outreach to that alumni as well. So yeah, so the website's on the bottom, and we do have Facebook. Will be, and all the social media handles will be promoting that as well, and just word of mouth too. So please share with your family, your friends, and your children, and your children's children, and your neighbors, and people at the laundromat, wherever you go. We would appreciate that support as well. So, but supermarket, yes. And if you have any questions, the email address is there as well. So we do monitor that email address so we can answer any questions that you might have. Okay.
Awesome.
Any questions? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Kristen.
much.
Yo.
I'd like to open the floor to any hearing of visitors. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Yes.
I do.
It's good for the virtual stream.
Hello out there. Okay. Hello. My name is Lisa Eritz. I teach social studies at the high school, and I came just to hang out and listen in, but then it occurred to me there's something I wanted to ask you. I teach AP Government and AP US History, and I know from previous meetings you have talked about you've considered funding the test costs for students taking the national exam, right? Like you tossed around the ideas. I think Mr. Sheets, were you the one who said, well, we offer dual enrollment, and so if a student would like to, they can purchase dual enrollment, so we don't really need to fund the tests.
I wouldn't say 100%.
This is hearsay.
No.
I did not hear this firsthand.
Yeah, no, actually, no, it's fine. No, I said that as a district, we've placed more emphasis on it, and that was actually the statement was in reaction to a statement made by the community members. They were asking about our rankings and the AP or world news report, like our school rankings.
Okay.
A large part of the school ranking is in fact based off of the number of students that take the class versus the number of students that pass the AP test, as well as the number of students
Who take the
minority
test.
students who take the class and pass the test. Which in that scenario, because we place so much emphasis on the dual enrollment program through RAC and through the state, education system, it ends up burning us on those, all in that thing. In the past, we actually did, when I first got on this board, we did pay for the AP test. However, through different really horrible years of budget process, that was one of those sacrifices that we had to make in order to keep the program solid.
Do you know if you have the data? Did fewer students start taking the test because that funding went away, to your knowledge?
I honestly don't know. I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
So I'm just putting this to you. I don't know where you're getting the information that we're just pushing dual enrollment, because I will tell you, in my classroom and in the AP classes, we are saying to the students, you're taking this course. I'm putting you through the ringer. Take the test. It will not hurt you. There's no golden grade book in the sky that's coming for you. If you get a 1, Don't worry about it. You don't have to tell any university or college that you apply to. However, if you get between a 3 and a 5, you're a rock star and you should tell everyone. And so I want you to understand that we in the high school are frustrated at the lack of students who take the national exam. We are pushing it in our classrooms. We're talking about how important it is. I myself tell them this, that if nothing else, it is tremendous experience in a high stakes testing situation. You will maybe go on to take, NOCD tests if you're going to tech. Maybe you're going to, Pennsylvania, we get put through the ringer for everything. Anytime you want to do something in the state, you got to be certified. You got to take certification. I myself have taken SATs, PSATs, praxis exams, the GRE to get into grad school. I said, if you want to go into higher level ed or even to be certified in your trade, guaranteed you will have to go into a testing situation. So this is just a way for you to go into that situation, get comfortable, feel it out, and it's in your high school. It's not scary. You're fine, right? And then once you've done it, you know the lay of the land. You can walk into the next testing situation comfortable, feeling like you know the inning and you know the score, right? I have had more students take national exams than other teachers. And I think it's because I'm constantly saying to them, you're here doing all the hard work, right? Do the test. I'm constantly telling them. And I know in the other classes, they're saying it too. They're selling it. I know when Miss Usella comes to our classrooms, she's telling them about dual enrollment and she's telling them about the national exam and how beneficial it is. I have asked the students, if someone was paying for you to take this test because you're paying so much for dual enrollment, if someone pays for your test, would you take it? What do you think they said? Of course. Of course. Because, and if you look at the socioeconomic status of our community, wouldn't that be helpful? And then we look at these test scores and we look at how our school has been hurt because out of a whole class of children who take AP Calc, one kid takes the national exam. We are not supporting education, in my opinion, if we do not fund those tests to our students to show them, here, this is important. We're showing you this because we are going to pay for it. If you want to take it, we're going to pay for it. So let me just finish by saying, I just wanted you to understand that, we're in the trenches trying to push this and support them. I myself go to Kutztown University. I've been doing this for years. I go to Kutztown University between the months of February to May, every Sunday from 1 to 3 or 3 to 5, whatever they need, and practice the exams with them. Because I believe it's also my job to teach them how to take the test. It's important for them. And I think if all the stakeholders involved in this experience are on board and sending the same message that, hey, this is important. You know what? It's so important. We're going to pay for you to do it because maybe your parents can't afford it. I just think that, like other schools do, if we do that, then they don't have to make this choice. Do I tell my parents for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever that I would like dual enrollment and the test, please? Because Mrs. Arrett said it's so important. I think it should be something that is provided. Well, thank you. Come on up, everyone. Let's dance. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so hear me out, right? I'm an educator. I don't sit where you are with the checkbook thinking the thoughts. I'm the one who's got the idealism and I want to fix things. So I leave it to you to think about and consider at some point. Thank you.
Mrs. Everett, I applaud you for that. And I agree with you 100%. I think we do need to up our academic rigor here. And AP exams are definitely beneficial for our students that want to go on post-secondary, regardless of what it may look like for our school numbers and the US News report. That's not at all what I'm concerned about. But what you're saying is 100% correct. And I don't know if you know this, but about how many students are enrolled in AP tests or in
In the
AP
AP courses,
courses? Just to give us
well,
an idea of
right
money
now
that
I
we're
have
talking about.
so I have AP government this year, seniors. I have 9 students.
You have 9 students.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had 9, one of them left. But then in AP US history, what do I have? 26, 2 different classes. The investment is there. They're taking the courses. And I have to say though, I do care about our scores in this school. I do want us to have those, whatever those tests, those scores that reflect our progress here in this district. I do want them to reflect what we're doing on the ground because I am working very hard. And I know that many of my colleagues are as well. And we would like to see more than one student take the exam, because they're scared or they're worried about what the colleges are going to say. I think there's not enough communication happening about the importance of the test. I think we need to keep saying it. I think they need to know the board and the schools behind them, and they're going to pay for it if they want to do this. And I think that, isn't that true? The more students that take the exams, it's a better reflection on our scores, right? Doesn't matter what they get. And I told every one of my kids, I said, take the test. You can do this.
How much does the test cost?
Right now, it's $98. But
And there's a reduced fee for those that can't afford it.
there is, but also this dual enrollment, what is it, $300 some dollars?
$99 credit.
Right.
I'm actually going to interrupt you for 1 second.
But the AP US history courses, that's 6 credits, right? So you're paying a lot of money to do the dual enrollment because I understand the kids want a guarantee. They don't want to just roll the dice and just let it all rest on the national exam. But many of them understand the importance when I tell them of also taking that test. And so it's not always an easy sell at home to pay for both.
So, Ms. Erickson, once again, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Fundamentally, I do not disagree with anything you're saying.
I'm sure nobody does, right? Yeah.
I do draw I'm a little bit offended about the comments about rigor because, anecdotally, I had a student that went through a push class, and because she took dual enrollment classes, she actually only has to take one humanity in college. All right, so at private universities, paying $99 in credit when you're in high school translates to a very big cost savings when you move to that university, depending on what you're going.
Correct.
I also know of 2 other young men that took your classes, and they had a bunch of other dual enrollment credits as well, and they walked into Kutztown University as sophomores. So there are benefits to both.
They're not saying there's not.
Yeah. And honestly, like I said, if it's one of those things during the budget process where we can break the money free, it is something that I 100% would love to do. 100%.
Right. Yeah, like I
So-
said, I'm not an accountant and I don't sit where you sit.
Yeah.
Just want you to know
It's
that
no fun sitting.
in the trenches, when we talk about this, we're talking about it. The AP teachers, and we this is something that we would hope for, so that we could we believe it would demonstrate a message to the student body that doesn't matter what your income is. You don't have to go home and be nervous and try to have this conversation with your parents who like maybe you don't even ask them for certain things because they can't afford it. That it would be easier for them knowing it's just going to be paid for. That's all.
So,
Thank you.
so
Would
no,
it be
wait,
like,
don't go,
one
don't go,
second.
come
We have
back.
more questions for you.
Start this conversation.
Yeah, come back.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, we can table this and talk about it later if you want. This is not on your jacket.
No, but we want to ask more questions.
So, couple of things. I want to applaud you on a number of fronts. Number one, you took on a new role this year as coordinator of AP programs for the high school. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your passion, and please keep us posted on how that's going and what you need. It sounds like you're
Okay.
using your voice in a lot of great ways
I
and
do.
working collaboratively with your colleagues who also teach and push AP courses. So thank you for that. thank you also personally for giving up your Sunday afternoons. And I know you didn't share that for any kind of
No, I just
kudos, but
care.
there, that needs to be acknowledged and appreciated, because that's an example of going way above and beyond, and that is exemplary of your passion and your care and concern for the kids. Might I suggest, if you, in partnership with the right folks in administration, could put together an analysis of, these are the courses, these are how many kids maximum would be taking the test, this is what the cost would be, either discounted or full price. And here, board, is what I'm asking for in terms of financial support. That would be really helpful, because on the surface, it's easy to say yes. Everything you're saying makes sense.
Right.
But if you package it up with some numbers and put it in front of us, I think at budget season, we can have a much more tactical conversation about potentially moving forward with your suggestions.
Could I ask you, like, when you say put together data in terms of like students that would be able to get reduced, how would I know that?
So let me just
Partner with your
interject.
admin
So,
team.
so
Yeah.
we are in the process of evaluating this. We can talk offline and work through that process. But we were in the process of already evaluating this before you came to the meeting this evening. This is something that is definitely an important part of where we're headed district wide. When we look at, one of our goals is equity. When we look at equity and finding that fairness and balance, Mr. Volker is leading that charge already to look at that. So it is something that we will bring to the board during the budget conversation and find a way to support students taking AP exam as well as students taking dual enrollment. Because philosophically, I think, Mr. Sheets, you made a very clear point, and one that I personally believe in as well, which is I want to make sure that students have opportunity to do either one, whichever they would want to do. If dual enrollment's the option, then great. If AP and that's the way they want to go, that's great.
Well, and it can be both.
It can
be
right.
both.
But if financially we're going to support one over the other, let's try to make it a platform where the student has that opportunity. So we'll come together back to you in the budget process during the curriculum budget presentation with a proposal and some dollars associated to that. Ballpark is probably $15,000.
You just said financially one or the other. Do we pay for the dual enrollment?
We do not. So if you start paying for AP exams, what about all the students that are taking a dual enrollment? How's that fair?
What do you mean?
And so there's some equity pieces there that I want to make sure we flush out. Not a conversation for tonight because we're not ready for that.
Yeah.
But one that we will come to you with that proposal and that conversation during the budget process to find that balance and that fairness for both sides.
What do you mean by how is that fair to the students who take dual enrollment?
Again, one we're flushing out right now, but it's if the idea is if you're going to pay for the AP exam and that student would pass and get the college credit, why would you not support the dual enrollment if they're going to get the college credit? The end game's the college credit.
No,
Yeah.
the end game is to provide the students with a testing experience. We are not providing universal college
See, I would
tuition by doing
philosophically
the dual
completely disagree
enrollment.
with you then, because if we're going to give a student the opportunity to expose them to a test, we've done that 3rd grade to 8th grade in PSSAs as well as now Keystone exams. That doesn't philosophically, that doesn't jive with me. I don't think we should, as a school district, should be paying to give the experience for someone to take a test. That doesn't make any sense. The end game is let's give them experience to take the courses, which we absolutely value, to then get their college degree and or a credit and a means to the end to help them launch their college career. That for me is the most important thing. Not to pay for them to take a test. So more to come. I think we've kind of hit a point in this where we can come back to this. Again, we're already in the process of examining it, and we will bring that to you in the budget meeting.
Might I suggest, so I'm delighted to hear that because this has come up multiple times.
Yes.
Dr. Carter brought it up more than a year ago. I'm delighted to hear you all are working on it. It's a little surprising to hear that you're working on it without the AP coordinator newly enrolled in that position, even being remotely aware of that. So I would just encourage you all to you got a lot of great thoughts and brain cells around it. Partner up and work collaboratively.
Appreciate that. Literally, we just had a conversation on Friday.
Okay.
That it was going to be in the works. So, yeah, this is really new. Okay, thanks.
Shall I contact Mr. Volker?
We'll get in touch with you. Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
They won't tell the students at all. And then they'll like yell at you that it's your fault. Or say your club is like canceled. They don't tell you at all. And, like you're no kidding. Say we're gonna go to a volleyball game and we come out with Kutztown. They never told Kutztown to meet us halfway through or we're taking your home. We have to go to Fleetwood, stop in the park for 20 minutes, sit there, and then we have to end up with Wilson up. Because there's no communication.
Okay, we will look into that for you.
And then two, the eighth grade math teacher, Ms. Swain, there's literally more than half the grade failing right now because she won't focus.
So right now there's wind set aside. And I know Mrs. Schwenk does work with students to support them with that. Now, if there's a specific situation, we can absolutely ensure that you're getting some supports if that's needed. Because the goal behind WIN is it's time at the end of the day to get that support. So if students are struggling, that is the purposeful way that schedule's been established.
I have multiple friends in lower math classes that are also struggling. When they tell her she's still stop.
So can I suggest something to you? I know Mr. Riggins is in the back there. Why don't we have him connect with you tomorrow morning? And then we can talk through that a little bit and make sure that those kids are supported, because that absolutely needs to make sure that's happening. And I'm sure Mrs. Schwenk will absolutely work to get to support those kids. Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's courageous.
Mr. Riggins, we'll connect with you. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? Right. Hearing none. I move on to get a motion and a second for the Board of Directors report.
So moved, Sheets.
Second, Eisenhart.
So a couple of items on the Board of Directors report this evening. The first one is the meeting minutes. There is a correction that will need to be made in the meeting minutes. It's under the BCIU committee report. We actually had a note in there that was set as a reminder that we forgot to delete. So my apologies for that. Under the BCIU committee reports, it says, look back at the June meeting. So that'll be deleted before the final piece is approved. But please know that as you approve that this evening, that part will be taken out. No other items need to be corrected on our end. Any questions or comments relative to the meeting minutes? Second is item B is the second reading of policies. There are several policies, 8 of them, that we discussed last meeting. Any updates, suggestions, discussion relative to those second reading policies? None heard. Moving on, those after this evening will become official policies of the school district. Item C is first reading of policies. There's 3 of them there. 217 graduation requirements, and then there is 806 child student abuse, as well as 807 opening exercises and flag displays. 806 and 807, there's no changes. Those are just routine policy review. The last time both of those were updated was 2017. Both of those are still in compliance with the law and do not need any updates. The graduation requirement, though, does need some updates. And that's policy 217. That policy in particular is broken now up into, 1, we tried to streamline it so it is easy to read and more understandable. 2, it's now broken up into the actual graduation requirements for a senior student. So the first part is credit requirements. And if you recall back as a board, we looked at readjusting how we evaluate credits in our school district for our seniors. So it used to be 26.6 credits. It is now 25 credits for the class of 25 beyond. So the next 2 years will be 26.6. As of the class of 25, it'll become only 25 credits. There are now 2 mandated classes. There is a freshman seminar, which is a required course, as well as a career financial planning that's a required course. And then we also put a caveat that BCTC students are allowed 1 credit reduction down to 24 in the areas of math, science, or social studies as a result of BCTC and scheduling conflicts that may arise. So that's in there. The second requirement that a student has to attain to graduate is they have to have a 25 hours of volunteerism. If they reach the 100 plus hours, they graduate with distinction, we call it, and they're recognized at commencement. And then finally, the third thing that a student has to do to graduate Brandywine is to pass the Keystone exams. There's 3 Keystone exams: biology, algebra 1, and English literature. Those are the 3 exams that have to be passed in order to graduate. If they can't pass one of those exams, there are alternate pathways that are prescribed by the state. Those pieces are all outlined in this policy. There's also some pieces about college and university that we support students that want to go to a college or university, whether that's in dual enrollment that we spoke about this evening a little bit earlier, or that's even enrolling full time in a college or university their senior year. Those are all options that we open the door for students to be able to take advantage of, and have had students take advantage of that in the previous years. And finally, in that policy, there's a diploma for veterans of foreign wars that did not complete graduation because they were enlisted in the service during the war, Korean War, World War II, Vietnam War. And so we can retroactively go back and award them a high school diploma, which again, we've been able to do in a few occasions over the year, which is pretty cool. So that's the updates to that policy. Again, more clearly defined, more easy to read. And then really the important thing is that credit change that the board had agreed to and approved many years ago, just never got transitioned into a policy. Other than that, I will turn it over to you for committee reports, Mr. Wagner.
All right. BCIU, Mrs. Hume.
Good evening, everybody. The update is submitted in writing as normal, but there is one item I'd like to call attention to and ask folks to kind of like the Education Foundation help us spread the word. At the BCIU, they were asked as one of just a handful of intermediate units across the entire Commonwealth to support a COVID testing center at the Requessie, and again, funded through the Pennsylvania Department of Health. So if you know of anyone who may need to be tested for COVID, whether it's for traveling, whether it's for work, whether it's just for family life, encourage them to avail themselves of this free clinic, if you will. Other than that, next meeting of the BCIU board is on the 15th, I believe.
Thank you. BCTC, Mr. Sheets.
BCTC held their meeting at the West Campus on September 28th. Really, the only big thing of note was the fact that we got an RFP out looking to do some chillers for the East and the West Campus. That actually is going to be covered under ESSER funds, so it's actually not really impactful in what, but it is a $750,000 projected cost, so I thought everyone would want to know about it. Our next regular meeting is going to be held Wednesday, October 26th at the East Campus in Ole, and that concludes my report. Thank you very much. Would you like me to do negotiation?
Yeah, why not?
Negotiation, sorry, has not had an in-person meeting. However, we have been working on some things behind the scene with some personnel issues. We actually will hopefully be resolving that in executive session following the meeting this evening. Other than that, I have nothing new to report, and that concludes my report.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
BEITC, Mr. Garrico.
Yes, we had a virtual meeting on Thursday, September 29th. It's 15 minutes. We reviewed their financial statements and we did an update on their business privilege tax process, which is not applicable to us. So the next scheduled meeting will be Thursday, December 15th.
Thank you very much. COLA, Mrs. Walliser.
Hello. So on September 13th, the PA Association of School Administrators met at the IU, and we talked about some of the upcoming political events that are occurring, most importantly, the election in November. They're claiming that the governor's race could be a watershed moment for education because the candidates are polar opposites on their views for public education. And education is actually number 3 in PA's list of voter concerns. The Republican candidates mainly are pushing hard for the school choice, which, according to the association, would devastate our public system as we know it. Priority number 2 was COVID recovery in education. Basically, it's going to be what they called messy for the next 4 to 5 years. And what we will be doing in these next 4 to 5 years is going to define public education. We've had historic funding increases in education this past year, but we're not sure that that's going to be enough. We are all facing critical staff shortages in all areas. I know I gave this stat before, but in 2010 and 2011, there were 21,000 new teachers certified in Pennsylvania. 2019 and 2020, only 7,000 new teachers in Pennsylvania were certified. The college enrollment for teacher education programs is down 67%. We're also facing the quiet quit, which is how do we keep our quality teachers from leaving this field? It's also important to note our superintendents. There are 97 superintendent openings in Pennsylvania. The average stay for a superintendent is 4.2 years. And studies show that the longer a superintendent can stay in our school district, the better our students and staff perform. So I want to thank Andrew for his commitment to our district and being one of the longest standing.
What's wrong with you? Stayed that long.
Yeah, so I think it says a lot about you and your dedication to our district. So thank you.
And it's been neat to be able to, you're looking at 4.7 statistic behind that says that, but it's neat to have that longevity and make connections, the initiatives come to fruition.
Yeah.
It takes several years
For things to come through.
Thank you.
Sure. So in the last 10 years, Pennsylvania public education system has been underfunded by $3.8 billion. And this is just to cover what the state is requiring us to do through mandates. On a positive funding note, there is $100 million in a Ready to Learn grant for mental health services in schools and $100 million for school safety. In closing, I'm going to go on a little rant of my own here. Our paid public education systems and schools have been managing more than they've ever done before, and we are doing a better job at managing it all than we've ever done before. And I think our team of 10 here on the school board need to be the voice of our school district and get out to the community and tell them all the wonderful things that are going on inside of our school buildings. Because if we don't control the narrative, somebody else is, and the negative messages can get out there and get out of control. Now is not the time to be neutral and not the time to not engage in arguments, because we are losing vital ground in public education and the heart of why public education was started. We need to work on showing the value in what our public education is providing to our community. And this is a quote from a book that I'm reading right now. It's called The Stolen Year by Anna Kamitz. And it says, while our country doesn't have universal health care, we are profoundly weak in subsidized housing, mass transit. We have no federal childcare to speak of, no paid family leave. But yet what we do have is this amazing phenomenon where in every town, city, and rural community, there is a warm, lighted building that children can go to for 100 days out of the year, 180 days out of the year, where they will be safe, where they are fed, and they are likely to encounter adults who care about them and teach them, all for free. So let's continue to be a positive rhetoric that our education system needs in our community.
Thank you, Laura. And just to add kind of that same conversation that Mr. Volker and I had on Friday, those that have been around, we did an education showcase, and we highlighted the things that are happening in the school district, invited our legislators in, the school board and parents and community. We're going to look to resurrect that again and bring that background to the point of let's celebrate what's happening in our schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Policy Committee, floor is still yours. Awesome. Thank you. Strategic Planning and Goals, Mrs. Eisenhart.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Sheets crossed it off already. Building Construction Committee.
So just a couple updates that are in the notes section here. The intermediate middle school project update. So this renovation that occurred 2 summers ago is still lingering on. We wanted to close things out. We had a lot of momentum to close things out. And then the individual that was our rep left the company. And so we have a new rep that is now starting basically at square zero to figure out where we were with change orders and credit agreements and the status of the work that had to be done with the punch list items. So we had that meeting last week, 2 weeks ago, and are now going through that process to reestablish the work that was done to kind of close this thing out. So we're getting there, but just it was definitely a setback. An ESCO project update. So we are in the process of finalizing and reviewing that contract that we approved at the last meeting for some of the ESCO projects, lighting at the auditorium, the chiller, those sort of things. The contract has been back and forth between our review to the company, back to us for comments, and so we're finalizing that. Once that's done, that will put the motion in to purchase the equipment and then get started with that project. And then finally, the intermediate school, middle school stadium project out here. Still working on some planning for that. The synthetic track side of it. There's two companies that internally the administration has interviewed, and the committee is going to get together in 2 weeks from now on, I forget the date, October 11th. And we'll be getting together to interview those companies and see if that's the direction we'd like to move forward. At least get some information about having options at our fingertips. So we'll be able to report back next meeting what we found during those interviews. That's it for the Building Construction Committee.
Perfect. Thank you. Any further discussion? The roll call, please.
Mrs. Eisenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Hohenschel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hune,
Yes.
Mr. Reitnauer,
Yes.
Mr. Sheets,
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallizer, Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Could I get a motion and a second for the business and operations report?
Motion. Second sheet.
Nice job. Nice job.
I have candy in my mouth.
So to begin the business and operations report, items A through D are the bills list. There's nothing to report for construction. As I said, we're trying to really wrap up those projects. And a lot of the outstanding payments are simply contingent on finalizing punch list. So item E is a financial report through, thank you, July 31st. The general fund through, I think it's missing capital reserve on here. And then we have the investment schedule. There was no report for student activity and trust funds. Again, this is for July. The kids are not here, so there's not much going on there, and no budget transfers. Then we get into the special education pupil services. I'm going to skip to item 2 and 4. These are really agreements for students that are placed out of district. One is to provide instructional services, and then the other is simply a placement. So they kind of go hand in hand. Item 1 is an agreement that we approve every year for special education services that are through the IU. Costs are relatively flat. The hourly rates only went up about $2-3 an hour, and we're talking $129 an hour. So that's not significant. And then item 3 is an agreement with Sunbelt Staffing to provide nursing services at an hourly rate of $75 to kind of give some support to our nurses that we currently have as far as the workflow. And then item H is facilities and maintenance. This is to approve a proposal from Zach Bartlett Masonry. This kind of goes with our goals for 22-23 in regards to facilities enhancement. He's going to work on some masonry work to kind of give the bleachers a facelift at the intermediate middle school at a cost of $6,036. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Just a quick question on that last item with the stadium and bleacher stuff. How does that, is that a one-off compared to the overall project? I thought we were looking at a very comprehensive stadium upgrade. So is this like a short-term issue versus?
Yes and no. So it was originally part of the ESCO project. I think it actually spans back to phase 1 of this project, where they ran out of money to kind of upgrade one of the athletic fields, either at the high school or intermediate middle school. We simply don't have the money to improve the facilities behind the high school. And then we got costs to improve the stadium here. So we decided it'd be cheaper to kind of improve the operations here. This is kind of, I would say, a cheaper fix currently, just from a cosmetic and also a structural standpoint to improve this. I would say the bigger ticket items are part of this upcoming ESCO project.
I think that's a good high picture. I think maybe what you're asking is that wall specifically, how does that intersect with the whole project of the stadium? So the stadium itself will remain. It's going to be the additional pieces at the top. So this is replacing the wall, the retaining wall at the bottom, which is blowing out and falling apart. So
crumble.
to do that now, we can do that internally as a project and kind of check that off the list. So the short term, long term, yeah, it's a short term, but we can knock it off and it really won't impact the project as a whole because it could be a standalone.
Thank you.
And similar, if you've noticed, we had a company come in and do pressure washing at the stadium, and there's a number of jobs. It's still a little concrete, but it is white and it's cleaner now. It is a remarkable difference that's there. So we're going to actually have them come out every year and try to upgrade that.
Thank
you. Any other questions? Discussion points? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Hollingshaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Reitinger?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Wellizer?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Wagaman?
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
Oh, superintendent's report.
So 2 items. The first one is to do our annual 5th grade camp. So we have about 90 5th graders that are going to be going this year. Along with that would be the 20 high school chaperones as well as 8 teachers. That is going to happen from October 12th to October 14th. And then the second one is a trip. It's an overnight trip. And it would be for our high school baseball team to travel down to the Cal Ripken facility down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for essentially like a spring training event. It would cost the students $800 per student, and then a yearly fundraising to offset some of those other costs that are connected with it. But since it's an overnight trip and it's connected to the school district as a sports team, I want to make sure that the board saw that and approved that because you do approve all the overnight trips. Any questions on those items?
I'm sorry, real quick. Can you confirm that those dates for the baseball team, March 15th through March 19th, are those non-school days? That's during a break, I assume, right?
I think that's actually during this school. I think the 17th is a half day, but I'm doing that. March 17th is a half day, and spring break is the first week of April.
So we'd be authorizing the kids to miss school for this?
Wednesday, Thursday, half day.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It would be a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just yeah.
Okay. Is that unusual? Is this the first sports team that's been approved? And is this the first time that we're authorizing a large group of kids like that to miss classes?
That would be for training of this. Yeah. There's games and there's tournaments and things like that happen, but for this sort of event, yes, it would be the first. What I'd like to do is just spend a couple minutes talking about enrollment. So October is our month when kind of things normalize with enrollment. It's when we upload the enrollment up to the state, and those are the numbers that are connected as the district enrollment numbers for the year, because that's what they use as the official enrollment for the school district for the year. So just to give a few updates where we are with enrollment, overall we're at 1,293 students. That's actually down 11 from where we ended the school year last year, actually from where we were in the previous October enrollment. During the course of the school year, we had 73 move-ins. We had 33 students that withdrew from the school district. Out of those 73 students, 11 of those were special education, and one of them was in an out-of-district placement that we inherited. More kind of interesting, out of those 73 students, 32 are free and reduced lunch. So that means that poverty percentage is 44% out of those individuals that moved into the school district. Speaking of poverty, well, before I get there, in terms of building capacity, elementary is +1, so they pretty much stayed neutral. Intermediate school is +2, pretty much stayed neutral. Middle school is interesting. They bumped 22 students positive. And then the high school is down 26, primarily because of a larger grade that graduated. That was one of the larger classes that graduated this past year. The other thing to note there is our 12th grade seniors this year, there's 129 in that class. That is the largest class in the district. So by comparison, we have 81 in kindergarten. So it shows you the disparity. And so we have these move-ins, the 73, and that's kind of buffering our loss. But that after this year, everything should start to normalize, because after this, there's a bunch of 100s, and then it starts to fall into the 80s and 90s. But it starts to kind of balance itself out after this year. From a poverty perspective, we were at 30.47 last year. This year, we're at 34.39. So that increase is about a 4% increase, that increase of poverty from last year to this year. The classes that were identified as having the highest poverty last year retained. So those classes are still listed as the highest poverty. If it was kindergarten last year, it's first this year. So first grade is 40.66 poverty. Fourth grade's 40.49, seventh grade's 41, and then 10th grade's 39. So those are the classes that are higher compared to the others in terms of poverty. So those are some of the statistical analysis from last year to this year and where we're headed. Overall, as we sum that up, kind of good to see we're balancing out, even though we had some big loss at that high school level with graduating seniors. It's nice to see that kind of balancing out. And then that poverty increase, which we've been talking about, changing demographics, but that's starting to really continue to show in the percentages and numbers that we have. Any questions on that? Mr. Wagner?
Hearing no questions, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Hohenschel?
Yes.
Mrs. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Reitauer?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallheiser? Yes. Mrs. Eisenhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Wagaman?
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Great. Thank you. Could I get a motion and a second for the personnel report?
Motion.
Second, Eisenhardt. We just rely.
So under personnel report, we do not have too many items this evening. We have the approval of a new employee that's going to be serving as the recess CAF aide. So that's a pretty exciting opportunity for us because that's hard to find those positions. There are some co-curricular appointments. We have the winter athletic coach recommendations that are in there. So that's the first time you're seeing the winter athletic approvals for this coming year. We have the winter athletic event staff and volunteer coaches. And then we have the non-athletic co-curricular advisors that are listed in there. Some changes to those, you've seen those before. Under leaves, there are a few leaves that are presented this evening. One is for medical, another one is for maternity. And then we have also an employee that's going to be looking to take a paternity leave from January 3rd until February 20th. And finally, we have the approval of a change in salary for Ms. Kleinfelter to $50,000 for her position in the school district. Any questions under personnel?
Hearing other questions, could I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Reitauer?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallheiser? Yes. Mrs. Eisenhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Hohenschel?
Yes.
Mr. Wagaman?
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Thank you. Any other board discussion, business? Question? Yes, sir.
Can I get an update from Nicole where we stand with getting the GPSs on the buses?
It's a great question.
Yeah, so we went through, I guess, several options in regards to whether, we purchase the GPS, they purchase GPSs. what do those GPSs look like? And then ultimately, we wanted to get the turn-by-turn tablets or some sort of screen for bus drivers to help recruit. So drivers, you know, if someone's subbing, they don't get lost. So ultimately, what we came up with is they had Verizon GPSs. We worked with Verizon and TransFinder, who's our transportation routing service. And we are going to go with keep Verizon. They had bought tablets. We have 6 tablets currently. And I actually talked to them today. They're installing the apps. The next thing is we're going to have to purchase Wayfinder. So that'll be a conversation of who's purchasing Wayfinder. It's about $2,000, which kind of goes back to where we were in budget season. It's a cost that we actually didn't have to use. And then once they do that, one of us will have to go over a log for anyone into the turn-by-turn direction, and then we'll have them on the system. So that'll give the drivers the turn-by-turn. I'm not sure the next step line as far as Stop Finder, as far as that parent app, where that would go. But the GPSs are on the bus. The tablets, there's 6 of them currently. But probably within the next week or so, we could kind of get those online. And we'll put them probably on the buses that are far back in the district, because those seem to be the areas where, you know, some drivers get lost and figure out there's no self-resumption. So.
Any additional public comment? Hearing none, I do need to announce that we have an executive session prior to the meeting, and we'll have an executive session after the meeting. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn, please?
So move Sheets.
Second. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, that sounds good.